with the Wagner Group and Prigozhin. Hopefully I said it right again.
Yes.
So, first of all, what happens right now? Prigozhin is the leader in the Wagner Group. So what happens now if, let's go back into what you said, he's in a hotel with no windows? What happens if he gets killed, if he gets assassinated?
Well, I think again, it's so hard to know exactly what's going to happen. Putin has this track record of doing these kind of things. My own view is that that's not going to happen. That's my own view. I mean, again, it could happen. I mean, there's so much in play. The main reason why I don't think it would happen is because if Putin did that, that would really undermine Putin's credibility with his call to the existing members of the Wagner Group to sign on to continue fighting, right? Because he made this huge public speech. We refer to this in my discipline as audience calls, right? He's incurred like these huge audience calls of saying, you know what, we're forgiving, there's no criminal charges, you can go home, but I really hope that you sign on and fight for us. If it comes out that Prigozhin's killed, a lot of people are saying, no, forget that, I'm going to go home. I'm not going to get it. In fact, I want to go to Belarus. I'm going to get out. I'm getting out of here. And so I don't think Putin can afford to do that. So I do think that Prigozhin is going to be kept alive. I don't think he's going to, because I don't think he can afford to do that. That doesn't mean Prigozhin has to be involved. He's essentially in exile in Belarus. But I don't think Putin can afford to actually eliminate him, because I do think it would undermine his ability to easily recruit the members of the Wagner Group and other organizations. Because, keep in mind that Wagner is not the only one of these kind of private mercenary, quasi-mercenary paramilitary organizations there, though it's the most prominent one. It would severely undermine his ability to easily recruit them. That doesn't mean he can't. That doesn't mean he couldn't resort to coercion. But if you can do it easily, why not do it easily? And given that they're having these resource constraints, I think it's in Putin's interest to not make that process complicated.
Interesting. We'll see how that falls and unfolds. Professor Poast, my question for you as we begin to wrap up is what are you looking into right now? What is on your radar in terms of what happened since last week? I know you recently published your article in World Review Politics, which I'm going to probably put in the link below on the episode's info. What are you looking into right now? And what are some of the questions that have emerged from all of this chaos that you're trying to find an answer to?
So obviously, the first thing that I'm trying to get a sense for, and I've been trying to get a sense for from the beginning, is kind of what does this mean for the broader conflict? And indeed, that was even the framing that I took when I first was evaluating this. I mentioned, we talked about my Twitter thread at the beginning of the podcast here. And, I do these threads on all sorts of different topics related to international politics. I try to bring in international relations scholarship to help illustrate and help people to understand what's unfolding. And when I started that thread, I started off with I don't know what is going on, but I could point to why it's happening. And the reason why it's happening, obviously at the beginning of this podcast, we went into detail. We went into the micro detail of why that's happening. But at a macro level, the reason why this was happening was the war effort was not going as right. It was these arguments and disputes. The Battle of Bakhmut was this, World War I type fighting of massive resources being dedicated for minimal gain. That was kind of at the macro level about why this happened. And again, you regardless of trying to still parse out the details of exactly what happened. So what that means is, has that changed, right? Has that changed in terms of, is Russia going to be able to take steps in light of this to improve their war performance, right? And that's kind of a key thing that we want to be paying attention to. I've already shared about how I think this is going to prolong it. And that's one of the reasons that I think it's going to prolong it, is I think this points to the fact that the argument wasn't over fighting. It was over how to fight. And I think that you're seeing this process of Russia trying to adapt but it was trying to adapt in a way that ticked off certain key stakeholders, in this case, here the Wagner group. But I think that that's what we want to be paying attention to, is how does this point to adaptation on the part of Russia and how it's carrying out the war that would position to continue prosecuting it. In light of the fact of, as I mentioned before, Russia can't actually win in terms of achieving victory, but they can win in terms of not losing. They can win in terms of can't be forced. And that's what they're going to do. And so paying attention to kind of the adjustments that Russia makes and is in the process of making, that's what to be paying attention to.
Professor, well, I want to thank you for, keeping us informed, keeping me informed in the Twitter threads and also with the articles that you write and with your expertise, sharing your expertise.